morning, when we wake up, we're faced with a series of decisions. And the first decision I make in the morning when I wake up is how many times I'm going to hit the snooze alarm when the alarm clock goes off. Or does it go on? Or does it go off? Who here thinks their alarm clock goes off in the morning? Who here thinks their alarm clock goes on in the morning? Who here has an actual alarm clock still instead of an iPhone? Right on. As you proceed further into the decision-making part of your day, you're eventually going to reach what I think is one of the most important decisions you make every single day. And this is what it is. You're going to get to decide whether you want to look at your life for what it is, or whether you want to look at your life for what it isn't. Because the way I see it, when you look at your life for what it is, you're living in a place of opportunity, with love and joy and abundance and gratitude. And when you're looking at your life for what it isn't, you're living in a place with shame and fear and guilt and anger. And I don't know about you, but I'm pretty sure I'd rather be over here with the joy and love than over here with the guilt and the shame, right? Unfortunately, I've spent an awful lot of time in my life over here in this place of what it isn't. And you know what happens when you're over here in the what it isn't? You're always changing gears. You're looking for something new. You're looking for that new job, the new life partner, the new home, the new clothes. And you never really get settled into anything. You never get into a groove with anything. To play on Mark's reference, dare I say, you never become a Jedi on the path of your life. Who's seen the new Star Wars movie? Yes? Okay, if you don't want to know how it ends, get out of the room right now, because I'm going to talk about it for a little while. Who loves the new Star Wars movie? Yeah, me too. My favorite scene from the new Star Wars movie is the scene at the very end. And it's a scene where Rey starts to go to the top of the mountain. And she's going to the top of the mountain to meet her master. And she gets to the top of the mountain and she extends her arm out to her master. And to me, it signifies two really important things. It signifies her ability and readiness to receive the training. And it also exemplifies Luke's time to step into the light and be the master, right? I've pursued a lot of paths in this lifetime, and I've changed gears more than a few times. I can remember my bonsai cultivating days. I can remember my winemaking days. I can remember my capoeira classes. Oh, and then there was my summer of the kites. I've got a little bit of a Charlie Brown in me, you see. Who here has met my wife? So you know that I fell in love with a little red-haired girl, right? I also had a dog named Snoopy when I was growing up, and this is true. I also could not get a kite off the ground for the life of me. So when I was about 25, I decided to chase those inner Charlie Brown demons, and I went out and I bought kites. I bought all kinds of kites. I got kite lessons. I read kite books, and that lasted for about a year, and then I put them all away and put them in the closet. I've had a lot of awakenings, in particular in the last couple years of my life. And one of the awakenings I've had is that if you want to get really good at something, that if you want to attain a certain level of mastery at something, if you want to become a Jedi Knight in the path of your life, there are three things that you absolutely must do. Number one, you must focus on the path. And you must choose a narrow path. And you must choose a path that you have passion about. Not just the kind of passion that you have new love with, but the kind of passion that cuts through time. Because I know I've heard in this room alone, if you find your passion, you can find your speech. Yes. I'm going to take it one step further. If you find your passion, I think you can find your way path through your life. Number two, you must do the work. Because as far as I'm concerned, you can have all the talent and creativity in the world, but if you don't do the work, you're not going to get to where you want to go to. And in Star Wars, Force Awakens, when Rey gets to the mountain that she's going to climb to meet her master, she doesn't get to the mountain, stand at the bottom, look at the top, and go, "Hi, top, that looks really good. I'm coming up." She takes baby steps on the path, right? And eventually, she finds her way to the top of the mountain to meet her master. Number three, you must ask for help. Because no matter what you do out there, there's somebody else on the path that's done it before you and somebody that's doing it better than you. There's someone out there that's ready to be your master if you're ready to receive the training. And you can go out and search the world and find the master. And you might find them in the most bizarre, faraway places. And you might find them somewhere pretty close to home also. Now, I've had a lot of great mentors in my life. And it all started with my parents. I often say I won the parents' lottery. My mom and I have the most amazing friendship. And we have this love affair of life together. And my dad was the finest man I've ever met. In fact, today would be his 89th birthday, if he were still alive. And then there were the yoga teachers, the high school counselors, the senseis that I've trained with. I've talked about Mike Dooley in a lot of my speeches recently, Michael Hyatt and his way to set goals. And then there was that guy named Jamal, that guy in the train that inspired me so much that I wrote a speech about him last year and took it through the Toastmasters contest for 4 rounds. And then there was Richard. My friend Richard came into my life 5 years ago, and he became my Yoda. He was 10 years older than me, and he knew everything about world affairs, politics, travel, food, wine. And he filled a role in my life that had been vacant for 8 years, that big brother, father role. And then he went and died 18 months ago. And ever since he died, I've been kind of lost. And I've been waiting and wondering and wanting for my new master to appear. And you see, I'm in a gentle, delicate period in my life. I'm in that period where you have to move between being a younger and being an elder. And it can be pretty confusing. And I've been pretty confused lately, so much so that I found myself in times of despair. And you know, you may look at me and think I'm a pretty happy guy, and I've got a lot of positive energy, and all that's true. And you may think that I have a great life, and I do. I have a fantastic life. I have a lovely wife. I have a network of amazing friends. I have a great job. I have so much to be grateful for in this lifetime. But believe me, my life is not all about riding a unicorn across the rainbow to the pot of gold. There are days, there are weeks, there are months where I am consumed by fear and doubt. And I recently had this really disturbing period of despair, and it happened right around the New Year. And I can remember a day that I actually sat on my couch, and I was physically weeping as my wife talked to me because I had no idea where my next piece of guidance was coming from. I talked to my therapist, I talked to my mom, I talked to my wife, I talked to my best friends, but I want another master. I want someone to carry me and teach me like Yoda teaches me. And at that point in time, I didn't know what he looked like. I didn't know what she looked like. I didn't know when or how they were going to come into my life. And see, during this period of searching, you fall back on the things that you really know. So I went back to rereading a lot of the books that have been meaningful to me through my life. And the first one I came across was this book right here. Anybody recognize this book by the cover? Anybody know this book? This is a book called Illusions by Richard Bach. Richard Bach is also the author of Jonathan Livingston Seagull. This is the ultimate mentor apprenticeship book. If you haven't read it, you should read it. And then I came across a book after I finished this one called Karate Do, My Way of Life. And it are the memoirs and the autobiography of Master Gichin Funakoshi, who's the founder of Shotokan Karate, the style of karate that I practiced for 20 years of my life. And I read that book 15 years ago as a young, entitled, arrogant martial artist. And now that I reread it as a 50-year-old man with a few extra years under my belt, I heard the messages so much differently, and they resonated with me so loudly. And the book was speaking to me so loudly that I didn't want it to end. I was savoring it. I was savoring every page of the book in a way that I couldn't savor things when I was a younger man. Have you ever had a book that touched you so much that you wouldn't read the last 10 pages because you didn't want it to end? Anybody? Yeah, it's okay, right? I've done it too. I just did it. I just told you. Well, as this is going on, a friend of mine, a very dear friend, just a couple days after New Year's, she gifts me a book. And she has it wrapped up, and inside she inscribes the book. And she tells me that she got this book about 6 months ago as she was going through a period of some of her own soul searching, as she was making a decision whether or not to leave her husband. And she said that the book spoke to her in a very powerful and loud way. And she actually wrote in the cover of the book that she savored every last page of the book. And I just thought to myself, this is too unique a message. This is too large a coincidence that I'm sitting here savoring this book that I don't want to end with 10 pages left. And she just gave me a book that she said she savored. And maybe the message for me was that I needed to finally end that book and close that chapter and move on and start reading the new book. And this was just in the last couple of weeks. So that day that she gave me that book, I took the train home. And on my train ride home, I had the book with me, so I finished Funakoshi's memoirs, Karate Do My Way of Life. And it ended just the way I wanted it to. And when I got home, I had a light meal. I did my writing project. I took a little time to gather myself. I filled up the bathtub with hot water and Epsom salts. I made a cup of green tea. And I grabbed the book, and I went down, and I sat in the bathtub. And I opened the book to the very first page, and the book is called The Mastery of Love by Don Miguel Ruiz. Anybody know Don Miguel Ruiz? Anybody know any of his work? Phenomenal, right? Yes, amazing author. More noted for the 4 Agreements, but this book is fabulous. I open the book, I'm sitting in the tub, and I read the first page of the book, page number 1. The introduction has a title. The title is 2 words. The words are, The Master. And I get that vibration through my whole body that tells me instantly that something special is going to happen, that this is going to be a game changer for me. So I gain my composure, and I start to read the book. And the book starts with a story. And it starts with a story about a master, and a master who's speaking to an audience, and he's speaking words of love. And everybody in the audience is enthralled with the master's words of love, so much so that they can't stop listening to him. And in the audience that day there is a man, and he's a humble man with a gentle heart. And he's so enthralled with the master that he wants to have an audience of his own with the master. And even though he's humble, he works up the courage after the master finishes speaking to go to him and say, Master, I would be so honored if you would come to my home and allow me to fix a meal for you. I know you're too busy and everybody wants a piece of you, but would you possibly consider coming to my house? And the master smiles at him and he says, prepare the meal and I will be there. Now get this, I'm reading this book, I'm in the tub, I'm in a period of soul searching, I'm trying to figure out who the hell my next master is going to be, and I'm reading about a master of love who speaks to people. I want this master! Who is he? Where is he? So I read on. And the story goes on. The man goes home and he fixes a meal, and he gets the finest wine, and he buys gifts of clothing for his master. And he waits for his master to arrive, and the knock comes on the door. And he opens the door, and it's an elderly woman. And the elderly woman says, I'm starving. Can you give me some food, please? And the man lets her in, and he gives her the food that he prepared for his master. And it makes the man feel wonderful that he helped this lady, but he's still longing for his master. She leaves, and another knock comes on the door. This time it's a stranger. And the stranger says, I'm so thirsty. I just walked across the desert to get here. Can you possibly spare something to drink? And the man lets him in, and he gives him the wine that he prepared for the master, and it makes the man very happy and satisfied that he helped the man quench his thirst, but he still longs for his master. And then finally, when that stranger leaves, a third knock comes on the door, and the man answers the door, and once again, it's not the master. It's a young boy who says, I'm freezing. Can you possibly help me with this problem? And the man gifts the young boy the clothes that he set aside for the master. And it makes the man feel wonderful that he helped the young child, but he still longs for the master. And as it gets later and later into the night, the man becomes weary and gives up hope that his master will ever come. And he dozes into a sleep as he sits in his chair. And as he sits in that sleep, he drifts into a dream. And in the dream, the master comes to him. And the man says, Master, you kept your promise. I'm so grateful. I'm so excited. You are here. And the master says, yes, I am here. I was also here 3 times before. I came to you when I was hungry and you fed me. I came to you when I was thirsty and you quenched my thirst. I came to you when I was freezing and you made me warm. That which you do to others, you also do for me. And when the man woke up, he was full of joy and happiness and excitement because he knew that the master loved him so much that he sent him 3 messengers to teach him the most important lesson he would ever learn. And here I am now reading this book as I get to the end of this story, and I come to the 5 words that Don Miguel Ruiz uses to end the story of the master, and this is what he says. The master lives within everyone. Wow! Holy cow! That should make my searching a hell of a lot easier, shouldn't it? Yes, absolutely. So what is it you're searching for, my friends? Which path do you want to follow to get your way? Because when you sift through the bonsai and the kites of your own lives, and you choose the path that you have with passion, all you need to do is stay the course. And by the way, when you go looking for your master, remember those 5 words. The master lives within everyone. The master lives within all of you. And I am grateful. I am so grateful to be having this spiritual experience in human form with all of you as we do this work. And oh, by the way, when you go to the mountainside and you are ready to climb, and you have your bag at your side and the lightsaber in the bag, and you get to the top of the mountain, and you see your master, him or her, standing with their back to you in a hooded robe, when they turn around to face you for the first time, don't be surprised if you see something like this. The master lives within everyone. The master is always here. And with that deep sense of knowing, may you never, ever, ever again lose your